Gotta move all the stuff. Hey, you guys. I was cleaning up today, so you know how that is. Oh man, when I'm not on the road doing comedy, man, I gotta clean up the house. Oh yeah, let me. It's all props. It's all props. All right, man. So, hey, comedian Leon the Jokester here. Let's get into business, man. This is Business Talk 101. I've been really trying to help young comedians, young entrepreneurs, young people understand the business side of things. Even churches, pastors, they email me wanting to know that, the right way to conduct business so nobody gets in trouble, because me personally, I don't want anyone serving time in prison because they thought that they were doing the right thing. So it's important. I always like to start my videos off by saying it's very important to educate yourself, because an uneducated person doesn't know anything. Uh, what you will know when you're uneducated is a minute amount of wisdom that we already know. Wisdom is to apply the information to oneself. Knowledge is to know something. So it's one thing to know something, but it's another thing to have wisdom and apply it to oneself. So the information I'm going to be sharing with you today is pretty much pretty black and white. I just wanted to kind of help some people out that are thinking about getting into full-time ministry. I'll also do a flip side to it, people getting into the entertainment world, and just making sure you take care of your paperwork in your business, because if you don't do what you're supposed to do with your paperwork and your documentations, then people will get over on you. People will play you. They will eat you up with, like the sharks. They will eat you up. Jaws, 1980. Yeah, they will eat you up. And so that's why it's kind of laughable when I do business with people, because a lot of times they look, oh, he's vision impaired, and oh, we can probably, get him to do it for a measly, $500. He'll do it for $7. Like, who cares that he has a wife and a son to provide for? Like, this is America. Just pay him pennies. And so once you start, researching things, and you start looking up what Title I schools are, Title II schools are, you start looking at the IRS, the paperwork, the publication 463, basically, the IRC, the Internal Revenue Code. So we're going to get into all of that, man, because what I don't want is for people to continue to do bad business. See, there's good business in the world and there's bad business. And what happens is sometimes when you train yourself with bad techniques, you end up doing bad business with people, and then you look bad. You look very evil. You look like a bad person. And we want to help you today not look like that anymore. The world has been through enough with the pandemic and COVID-19. We don't need any more bad business. There's a lot of companies that stole millions of dollars with those PPP loans. We don't need any more people in the world that's just going to conduct bad business. It's really sad. um I've been I've done good business my whole time, with comedy. When I was a DJ, I've seen firsthand how people will tell you, I'm gonna pay you, and then because you didn't have a contract or your paperwork right, you got played. I've had times where I showed up at events in the past, and the executive director had promised me a certain amount of money, and because there was no contract, they paid half of that. They knew the game and I didn't. But those days are over. We have like a 10-page contract every time we do an event. If people don't want to do, that's how you know if people are doing good or bad business. When they drag their feet with that contract, then they don't do business with them. What I normally do is I give people a timeline. I don't just email a contract over. You have a certain amount of time. If for whatever reason you do not meet the deadline, then we cannot do your show. Like, I put the gas. I put my foot on the gas for people, because what you don't have, what people need to realize, and then we'll get into the content. Me as a comedian, first and foremost, I take care of my business, very respectful, very humble, and I want to help people. I want to impact lives. There's still a business side to everything. Okay, so let's say, for example, hypothetically speaking, let's say that someone wanted to book me May 1st, 2022, and now we're like in April 9th. It's April 19th. Okay, let's say two companies want to book me simultaneously. So one company, company A, and then we have company B. Company A says, we want you May 1st, and we want to pay you, but we can't pay you that much because we don't have a budget. You know how they like to lie and all that stuff. All of a sudden they're broke, but yet the venue costs more than, okay. So May 1st, they want to pay you. Okay. Company A. The thing about it is, I trust company A, even though they haven't signed a contract yet. I trust that they're going to keep their word, but yet I send over the paperwork and they're dragging their feet. The next day, April 20th, right? Because I said April 19th, the company A wanted me. April 20th, I wake up, I look at my emails, company B wants me. They're like, yo, send the contracts over immediately. We're ready to sign for May 1st. Here's the dilemma. Company A wants me May 1st at 7 p.m. Company B wants me May 1st at 7 p.m. Company A is dragging their feet with signing the contract, but company A is doing good business, not bad business like company A. So company B is like, yo, send over the contracts. We're ready to sign. We want you to perform on May 1st. So that's the reason why paperwork is so important, because if you don't have paperwork, people are going to do what they want. They'll drag their feet. They'll lie and say, "Oh, we were in the board meeting. We were in the board meeting, and we didn't get a chance to get back to you." No, that's a lie. I emailed you a week ago, and it was funny that the following week we contacted you, and when we told you we couldn't do the show anymore, now it's like, "Oh, I'll email you 5 minutes after that email." But yet we could not email you a week prior to say, "Hey, Leon, we're working on things, like just give us a chance and we'll get right back to you." Communication is so key. This is how you separate people that do good business and people that do bad business. Some people just don't know how to do good business, so I don't fault people. That's the reason why it's better for me to just tell them in an email, or my wife will email, or my tour manager, Kevin in Texas, will email the client and say, "We're not able to do your show." And then I feel like people get kind of like defensive, or they kind of get their feelings hurt, or they get emotional about it. And it kind of makes them feel like, wait a minute, how dare them say they can't do our show? We have plenty of money. So then you end up getting an email immediately saying, "Hey man, I'm sorry, we were in a meeting." Or also, meetings last 24 hours now. When I contacted you a week ago, that's 7 days. You've been in the meeting for 7 days straight. But yet when we email you today, and then all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, okay, I can email back now." See, this is what I'm talking about. We're not going to play games in 2022 or beyond. The reason why is because people will try to run game on you because they think that you don't know something or you're uneducated. So I always apologize, and I need to stop doing this. I say, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a college grad. I worked for corporate as an executive director for 10 years at a company locally. I'm also disabled now, and I don't use that as an excuse." So if you look at me and you're like, "Oh, he has a disability, being blind in his right eye, but he can see out of his left," maybe we could take advantage of him. Maybe we could do what we want with him. But no, we're the wrong team. So with that being said, I hope you like my example. I hope that never happens in real life. Hint, hint. So that's why I want to talk to you guys today about 3 things. We're just going to do 3 things. It won't be long. It will be very short because we got about 5 more videos we need to shoot out to the masses. And so let's go ahead and start with the first one. The first one, I want to talk about the IRS, the Internal Revenue Services, the IRS. We already know about the IRS, okay? Now, with the IRS, we have to understand something, that when you are an entertainer, if you make less than $5,000 in a year, I was told by H&R Block years ago that the government counts that as a loss. Now, don't get sad, young entrepreneurs, just because you made less than $5,000 in 1 year. You have to start somewhere. I was there once too, where I made less than $5,000 in 1 year doing comedy. I was there. We all got to go through it until we get really, really good, and then we can charge what we want. So with the IRS, if you make less than $5,000 for the year, according to my resources and the people that I work with at H&R Block doing my taxes and whatnot, they said that, oh, it's counted as a loss. Okay. So a lot of, like, the last few years, it was a loss. So I had nothing to worry about. It wasn't until like the last 2.5 years is when business picked up for me as a comedian. And then it surpassed $5,000. So when it surpasses $5,000, now The IRS is expecting their piece of the pie. You ever hear people joke around with like Uncle Sam, that Uncle Sam. You see the him pointing. He's dressed in the American flag outfit. Um, that picture is funny, but yeah, Uncle Sam is going to come for his cut. And if you don't have the money when the IRS knocks on your door, then you go to prison. My sister actually almost got caught up in something like that, thinking that because she was a private CNA nurse, they were paying her under the table. But what she didn't understand, I told her, you got to read books and educate yourself and know what's going on. Those people, I'm not going to use the race card or anything, but those individuals knew what they were doing. They were paying my sister with checks, and she made about $75,000 in 1 year. Knock, knock. Guess who's at the door? Uncle Sam. The IRS came for my sister, and by the grace of God, she had like $30,000 of that $75,000 sitting in the bank just saving, right? Well, guess how much Uncle Sam asked her for immediately? I think he had like 30 days to provide that. $25,000. Uncle Sam asked for $25,000 from my sister. So with that being said, she paid it with no problem, took it all out of the bank. She was able to keep the rest. If I was in her shoes, I would have gave the whole 30. I'm like, whoo, I just beat San Quentin prison time. But the reality check is that's the reason why you always got to take care of your business. When I do business, and I'm getting ahead of myself, I'll talk about that in just a second with the W-9s. When you do business with people, you have to have a paper trail. You really do, because it can come back and hunt you. Like, yeah, it feels good to have a $5,000 check. Yeah, it feels good to have a $7,500 check. It feels good to have a $10,000 check. But what's going to happen is if you go and blow that $10,000, that $7,500, that $5,000, then Uncle Sam is still expecting his money at the end of the year. If you don't have it, you will be in big trouble. So make sure you pay your taxes. My wife is my accountant. By the grace of God, she makes sure every time we do a show, we document everything. We take a certain amount, certain percentage out to put in the bank. So then when it's time to pay Uncle Sam, he has his money with no problem. We're not like, oh my goodness, I got to do another comedy show in order for me to pay Uncle Sam. Okay. So that was the first thing. I just want to let everyone know, basically in a nutshell, entertainers, make sure you got your paperwork right. Even when you go to churches, make sure that you have your paperwork right. Don't fall for that love offering stuff, because that right there, I found out under the IRS publication 463. Well, we'll get into that in just a second because I'm going ahead of myself. It's actually the next point. It's actually called the IRC, not the IRS, but the IRC. The IRC is the Internal Revenue Code. And what happens is, like, let's say I go to a church and I do a show. It's right. Is it right or wrong for them to do a love offering? Well, according to the scriptures, but remember, Jesus Christ came to present his kingdom, not the government that we are under right now in the United States of America. So that's the reason why I always try to tell pastors, you got to learn to separate ministry from business. Once you make something a 501c, your church, then it's now considered a business. It's not just a ministry. See, Jesus wanted us to be focused on ministry. But what we do is we see other pastors with mega churches making millions of dollars, and we want a piece of the pie. So we'll take something that God has given us that was pure under ministry, serving people, serving the homeless, giving groceries and whatnot. And then we'll change it over with the 501c and make it a business. Now, once it's a business, you're going to be asking people, hey man, give money or God's not going to bless you. Give money or God's not going to bless you. And what happens is there's people that don't give money to God, and there are atheists, and there are millionaires and billionaires. So how is it that they're getting money and they're not paying a dime, a penny to the church? So that's why I said, man, a lot of people have lied and said a lot of stuff, and I'm a follower of Christ myself. I'm definitely following the 10%, but my 10% isn't always going to a building, especially when I see people doing well, like the senior pastors, and they're on Instagram on the beach and they're enjoying their life and driving Teslas and big trucks and stuff. I seen it, man. But my thing is this: give it to the people that are in need. If there's someone in your neighborhood that you feel like needs groceries or help on gas to get to work, go give that 10% to them. In fact, give whatever you can to them. It doesn't even have to be 10%. The whole point of 10% in giving is just that you have a giving heart, that you help people, like serve people. It's not about you sitting in a congregation and giving all the money to a senior pastor, and then he lives the luxurious life with his wife and kids while you're just hoping that God will give you a miracle this week. But you can't get to him. As soon as the service is over, he disappears like David Blaine. So a lot of people aren't going to church anymore because of those situations. So I would definitely encourage people to study the IRC, the Internal Revenue Code, because that right there, it can break down a lot, even with what you call it, the love offering. With the love offering, the reason why love offering is good is because you're giving from the kindness of your heart to someone. But the reason why a love offering would be bad, or what we would say in America illegal, is because the IRC, the Internal Revenue Code, states that there's no paper trail when you are giving the love offering. So the church actually is skipping out on being taxed at all, because churches are tax exempt. They don't pay taxes. It's like they're in a different bracket because they're like doing a good deed in the community. Do your research. So my thing is this: when it comes to the IRC, right, the Internal Revenue Code, we have to know what we're talking about when it comes to that love offering. You got to be very careful. There's another part. The third part that I wanted to talk to you guys about was the IRS Publication 463. Now, the IRS Publication 463 just blew my mind, because this right here allowed me to understand how schools pay keynote speakers and how churches pay keynote speakers. If you live 50 miles away from the house to the church that you're speaking at, or from your house to where you're going to be performing at a school, if it's over 50 miles, legally, according to the IRS Publication 463, they have to pay for your transportation, like your gas. Okay. Now, you got to be clear. This is not part of your performance fee. This is just legally, they are supposed to pay for that. That's the reason why when you're booking a show, you need to submit a W-9 for the IRS, and you also need to submit a 1099 miscellaneous. Now, the 1099 miscellaneous is clearly going to show you how, if you receive a gift from the church, like a love offering, if they pay for your hotel, if they pay for your transportation, your airplane ticket. The reason why it's important for you to be filling out a form called the 1099 miscellaneous is because it's anything that the church is going to be paying for as you travel to speak at their conference, at their church, as a keynote speaker. Same thing applies to the school system. I go into the school systems. The school system, if it's a Title I school, where some of the kids their parents may have low income, disadvantaged students, as they say on Google and stuff. I don't really like that word, disadvantaged students or low income families, but I understand that's the jargon. So you got to go with whatever the jargon is. But they're saying basically under the Title I schools, there's Title II as well, but the Title I schools get a certain amount of money every year for speakers. Now, every school doesn't pay for their keynote speakers. I've done my research on that, but there are some counties that will pay $1,300, $1,500, $2,500, $5,000. I've seen even up to $10,000. Why? Because the superintendent of the school has to get rid of that money every year. Okay. Sometimes there's grants for the keynote speakers. Sometimes there's other means of wealth. I've done shows at schools where an outside source that's connected to the school under the Booster Club, they will come up and pay out of their pocket in a form of a check for me to speak. And so again, I have the W-9. I fill everything out. So then at the end of the year, I can pay taxes, because that's a paper trail. Once someone writes you a check, that's a paper trail. So when they file their tax and say, hey, we paid the comedian X amount of dollars, that's going to notify the IRS to say, hey, who's this comedian that just got paid X amount of dollars? Who's this comedian that just got paid X amount of dollars? He hasn't paid taxes. She hasn't paid taxes. You see what I'm saying? So the paper trail is very important. Again, when you go to a church, sometimes because they don't want to pay you what they would pay like a famous pastor like Stephen Furtick or Pastor Michael Todd or Pastor Craig Rochelle or Joel Osteen or Bishop T.D. Jakes, those pastors make millions of dollars. And you can Google how much they're worth. They actually get paid, and then they also have the church do a love offering. So they're getting paid twice. The first time when they get paid, they're doing that under the W-9 and the 1099 miscellaneous because they still need the mega church to put them in the hotel. They need the mega church to pay for their plane ticket or their transportation, picked up. I need to be picked up from the airport and transport to the church. All of that's being taken care of legally through the W-9 and the 1099 miscellaneous. But watch this. When they do that second offering, that love offering, right? The first one was the performance fee from the church. But when they do that love offering, there's no paper trail. So that's just out of the kindness of the church's heart and the people in the congregation that got blessed by whatever the sermon was, right? So if you get on stage and like John 3:16, Jesus loved the world, and then it's like, give me money, and then everybody gives you money, and then you end up not only getting the $5,000 for your performance fee, but then the love offering ended up equaling the same amount. It was another $5,000 because it was 5,000 members and everyone gave $1. So now you walk away with $10,000. Well, the first $5,000 you're going to pay taxes on at the end of the year, which would be a write-off. The second $5,000, which was a love offering, you just put that in your pocket. You could legally, you should be paying taxes on that, but how can you track it? Because it's not like the IRS is sitting in the congregation of the church and saying, hey, everyone gave 5,000. Leon, you could put that in your pocket now or give us our cut and then we'll leave. It's not like that. So a lot of times that's the reason why churches will do this whole love offering thing. And it's sad because what if someone traveled very, very far away and when they got there, they were told they were going to have a love offering, but there was only 5 people there. So then when you end up, get them performing, for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, then what happens is you only got $10 for the love offering, right? Now you'll be grateful for that, but the reality check is that's all you got, and you burnt that just backing out of your driveway. So you basically traveled all the way like an hour away from your home. You travel back an hour, you perform for free, and we got $10 because the love offering was based off whoever showed up. There's no contract or anything. So that's the reason why a lot of times it's hard to get people to perform in churches these days, because people see that you could go on social media and perform and get paid. You could do Zoom and get paid. You can go to a secular venue and get paid thousands of dollars. So it's just really about you finding your audience and knowing where you're going to go and to be able to make a living. Because, we all got to pay bills. We all got to make a living. I don't know why people find it very difficult being able to pay people what they're worth. That's all we got to do. Good business is with a contract. And good business is also asking the person, how much do you charge? If the person says $2,000, then pay $2,000, or just tell them, hey, we can't afford that, but thank you so much. And then keep it moving. I don't understand why people, they get all bent out of shape and get entangled. Like, oh no, that's too much. Can we negotiate? No, I don't have the lowest prices. Yesterday's prices are not today's prices. When you book Leon the Jokester as a comedian, you're not paying for the stage time. You're paying for the years of experience. So I don't know, man. It's interesting, but that's what I want to share with you guys today. I hope you learned something. Make sure you get your paperwork right. All right. I'll talk to you soon.